Happy birthday, Bitcoin. You're 17 years old.
17, really? Almost legal.
January 3rd, Gen 3.
Nice. It's the what is it? Who was that? The Winger song? Winger? Was it Winger? She's only 17. Daddy
Looks
says
older
she's
than she
young,
is,
but
but
she's old enough for me.
not old enough to drive, or not old enough to vote. But
Yet.
for 17 years, Bitcoin has come quite a ways. Bitcoin,
Yeah,
is
not bad
full
for magic
fledged.
internet money.
Magic internet money. 17 years old. Happy birthday, Bitcoin. Thank you, Satoshi. Dropped the code, version 0.1.
Yeah. We're still there, it feels like, but
It
yeah,
still
man.
feels early.
Yeah, totally.
Onward and
It's
upward.
over here is like spreading virus and disease everywhere. So
The Bitcoin inoculation continues to work into the corpus of the cancerous fiat system.
yeah, now we just got to get it to work into your lungs.
I know I'll try to mute if I have to cough, but I'm trying to stay
Don't
healthy.
you get me sick before the freaking golf tournament, man. If I go out on that golf course and I got the flu because you brought some disease with you, I'm going to be like very, I need to focus. I need to have my A game out there. This is a tough course.
I had a cold evening out on the range of lots of podcasting going on too, just busyness at work. Burning the candle in preparation for flying out in just a few days, which seems crazy, but heading to El Salvador, trying not to get sick. I've been taking zinc and trying to get rest if I can get any extra rest guilt-free.
Good man.
But I shall be healthy, and we'll be fine. I'm
gonna bring my N95. I'm just gonna mask up every time I'm near you. I'm gonna like just douse myself.
You from Portland? You look like you came from Portland.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I'm kind of excited about El Salvador. I think it's gonna be good. Like knock wood, I kind of got my swing all dialed in. If I can just, I got a few more days to keep tweaking on it, but yeah, it's gonna be great, man. I think you're gonna be on stage with Max. I think you and Max Kaiser are gonna be chilling for a little bit.
For sure?
I mean, we are definitely have a speaker slot somewhere. I just don't know who it's going to be. It's either both of us, one of us, or I don't know. They said if you're in the tournament, they can do your interview on the Friday practice session. But I said, hey, well, there's two of us, and one of us is just going to be available. So maybe you just want to talk to him. But they haven't written back yet. So getting some logo golf markers ready to give away to all the contestants, and we're bringing a MicroSeed down there as a giveaway for the raffle. So nice. It should be exciting. I don't know
if we have a speaker slot or one or both of us are going to be up there. Hell, I got to get my Max. I take a version of whatever speech any presentation format I might do, and just add a little Go Max to it. So I'll be up there ranting and raving like. I need to bring like some dollar bills just to be tearing up and throwing around and screaming.
You will not be able to withstand Max Kaiser. That guy is an expert at shutting you up and making sound. Like he will not. If he just looks and goes, no, I don't want to hear any of this shit. You're done. But
there's only one Max.
There's only one Max. Play yeah, Max. You cannot play Max. You just bring your game and just and be ready to adapt to whatever he's got. My suggestion. But
extra.
Yeah.
The appropriate amount of extra.
Yeah, just snort some a little cocaine before you hit the stage. And then you'd be like, hey, how's it going? Hey, and then maybe you can keep up. Maybe. I don't know. It'll be great just to be in El Salvador. It's a beautiful country. We're gonna be hanging out on the beach, chilling like a bunch of beach bums, going surfing maybe. I don't know.
I've never actually surfed. I've kind of bodyboarded, dinking around in the Pacific Northwest, but maybe not the same. I got to learn to actually surf.
Well, apparently it's the right season to do it. It's January, so it's like the dry season down there. The waves are pretty tame. They're like 1 or 2 foot swells, so they're pretty pretty beginner friendly. You're not going to get hammered and thrown into the washing machine, so to speak. But
Cool.
I think it might be fun to get out and do a surf lesson. I don't know. We'll see.
How busy we are.
I just spent the last 2 days like absolutely dousing my clothes in permethrin. So
what is that?
Permethrin. It's the stuff they use for anti-bug.
Oh, I didn't.
Like, it's mosquito repellent. Like the U.S. military and the Canadian military use this stuff, and yeah, it's based on it's a derivative of the chrysanthemum flower, but it just kills bugs dead, like ticks, mosquitoes, sandflies, all that shit. They just come up and like, so yeah, so I like just absolutely drenched my clothes in that stuff, and I've also got Picardin, the spray-on stuff for the exposed areas. Like I'm just going down ready to do some chemical warfare down there.
No
like,
bugs.
I am not
attract the bugs.
Yeah, well, you saw when you were in New Mexico, like these things are just like, oh, there's lunch.
Yeah, and I don't know what it is. Like they might be around, but they don't go at me like they were you. And
yeah. Oh,
not that I don't get bit, but they were going for you. And for me, it was kind of like they'd be flying around, but maybe I don't smell right. I don't know. I'm stinky enough.
They yeah, I am an all-you-can-eat buffet for mosquitoes. So I am showing up armored up as best I can.
Well, we'll see how the bugs are down there. Kind of like when I went to visit Mississippi, and I've heard there's bugs, and then you get down there, and it's like evening comes, and I'm used to like mosquitoes where I'm at that sometimes come out in the summer in the evening.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, this was like, holy crap! And they were psycho flies, like zap, fly around. Oh, miss me. You gonna try to swat me? Nope.
Yeah.
Here I am, and I'm gone, and I'm back, and I'm gone. It's just like, oh my goodness, these are not lazy organ mosquitoes.
Yeah, I think that's probably what we're going to be confronted with down there. Like the coastal regions, I don't know. We'll see. I've been kind of reading up a little bit on El Salvador, but yeah, Gulf. That's what it's all about. That's real proof of work right there.
Yeah, manage those calluses. Coming out of having survived 2025, here is one of the hardest years we've ever had in Bitcoin, coming out of a bear market. These are the annual lows in Bitcoin year by year, the lows. We were crushed in 2025 with a low of $75,000.
Brutal.
So this has been a brutal bear market.
No, we're just getting started. So
we'll see. I feel like, well, so like we're seeing, what do they call it? The silver squeeze, the short squeeze going on with silver. They talk about with, retail market price goes up, retail market starts to FOMO. People want their silver. However, I mean, a lot of people are trying to like actually self-custody silver or looking at what they got or thinking about it. And then there's these short sellers out there that, play the silver games, the big players, the big money, and it creates this crazy price action. I wonder, could Bitcoin get into situation, a Bitcoin squeeze of sorts? I don't know if there really was a supply tightness, and
but there isn't, and there won't be for a long time. There are like lots and lots and lots of people that have lots and lots and lots of Bitcoin. There are like thousands of very natural sellers ready and willing to deploy their Bitcoin anytime it makes sense to them. So
I think there's a lot of people that feel like they've been in Bitcoin for a while, or they got through 2025, but they might feel this thing where like I got in above 100 and now I'm kind of reeling from managing my hold. And so, if it hit 150K, I've made money, and they're lettuce hands. There's plenty of people that have been in Bitcoin for a little while, but they don't have diamond hands. They're not hodling. They have a price.
Yeah, but those are like, we're talking about people that have like 0.3 Bitcoin in a wallet somewhere, or they've got like half a Bitcoin or 1 Bitcoin or 1.5 or something like that. But there are still, like, the wallet concentration is still massive, dude. Like something like 70% of the accessible Bitcoin is held on like 7,000 wallets, right? So like there are millions and millions and millions of Bitcoin that are just sitting around in wallets that people have had since 2010. So, if your Joe average pleb who got into Bitcoin in 2018 is like, yeah, man, I've got, my 1.3 Bitcoin and I'm diamond hands and yada, yada, yada. Like they have no impact on the market. It doesn't matter if they sell or not. Like it's those guys that have been sitting on 10,000 Bitcoin, 20,000 Bitcoin, 50,000 Bitcoin, shit like that are just like, I'm gonna peel off 1,000 of them because I don't care. Like I've got billions of dollars. So that's where the the sell pressure comes from, and they're they're not such a deep group of people that they can't like subtly coordinate or at least kind of follow what each other is doing. If you live in a town of 5,000 people and you control 70% of the Bitcoin, it's a different world. You know what I mean? So,
well, if I was a big finance person, if I was well moneyed or had a lot of assets under management that needed to capitalize on Bitcoin, to the extent that you know anything about it, you might say, yeah, this is going to be good long term. You're going to, you want to position yourself carefully and get in at a lower price and not be late. You don't want to rush. And at the same time, I think there's going to be more and more big players that if the price starts to go up, they're going to feel like, oh, it's starting to move. Let's not be too late. We were thinking about it. Let's go now. There could be a cascading thing where price goes up and then some of those treasury company, big financial hands may be positioning themselves to be in for the long term. They're not thinking of, I don't know. I mean, I guess it would push the lows even higher. It's like, the lowest lows are going to be higher. It may blow up and then drop because they feel their own trading, fiat benefit. But I feel like there could be a real drive to move the price up because money may move in. They don't want to be late.
I don't think there's enough money yet, if I'm honest. But I don't know. Let's see. 21, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times 0.7. So yeah, there's something like 15 million Bitcoin in 5,000 wallets. So, the rest of the Bitcoin, the other, and then however many, 3 or 4 million are lost forever kind of thing. So there's like 3 million Bitcoin in pleb hands and like 15 million in institutional and whale hands. So when you look at those numbers and then talk about things like price squeezing and price action and stuff like that, like I think the thesis requires some effort to make it stick, because when you have that kind of wallet concentration, like the vast majority of that Bitcoin is liquid and ready to move, So in order to facilitate the kind of buying pressure that would facilitate like these strong upward price moves, I think requires a confluence of events that we haven't quite crossed yet. Like some retail FOMO certainly helps, but it's wide scale adoption that, and it's not like, hey, some new company just bought 5,000 Bitcoin, but it's like, hey, 10 million people just bought a Bitcoin kind of thing. You know what I mean? Like and we're just not there yet. We've got a bunch of kind of price speculators. And I mean, literally everybody in Bitcoin is a price speculator. Like there's the handful, the 24,000 people that are running nodes, and then everyone else is just sort of like, they don't get it. They don't get it on a deep level. They don't understand anything about what it is, what the commodity is, what it means, all that kind of stuff. So I don't know. We'll see what happens. Like the future isn't written, obviously, but I can see like next couple of years of sort of steadily eroding price action, and then get into the next halving, and then have another, wherever it goes to from there. But I don't see any catalysts in the near term that are going to shoot Bitcoin up, especially absent any retail care about it at all. Like there are zero retail buyers that are interested in Bitcoin right now. Like they're all just trying to figure out how to pay their electric bill,
Let me throw out a couple of ideas that could be catalysts. See what you think. So on one hand, seeing between money printing and the devaluing of the dollar, and people just seeing more and more, even in America, where the dollar is backed by something, isn't it? But people see monetary debasement and inflation, and there's a sense of what's the origin behind the incentive behind gold and silver right now anyway. It's like safe harbor for a better asset, a better property. The dollar's wrecked. So for a lot of people, maybe the mindset is shifting around, well, the dollar's screwed and will continue to get worse. So what's better? And so a lot of people are like, well, metals or, other things untethered from that, if they believe that. Second thing that might drive some of this feeling is what's in the news a lot lately and on a lot of people's minds is fraud. I mean, I feel like I want to open a daycare right now. I wish I could get in on the fraud. It's like if you're an honest person, you feel like a chump. If you're not defrauding something somewhere, you're falling behind. You're trying you do honest work. That's weird.
Right. Yeah.
So people could, in the face of monetary debasement, and then, oh, I pay taxes. Where does that go? Well, half of it goes to straight up complete fraud. The other half goes to war and hijinks and services, I guess, that you will never see because you're only 50 or whatever. So maybe in 20, 30 years, you'll get a little drip to stay basic. But maybe those kinds of incentives will drive people into, wait a second here. No, I want to think about money. What is money? Maybe more people will think about it.
Well, I mean, we just went through the greatest debasement experiment ever in the history of the world, and no one did anything. Like, I didn't see any mass influx of people rushing into gold and Bitcoin after they, like, I saw a bunch of people get stimulus checks and go, hey, neat, yay. And then 3 years later go, why are my groceries so expensive? And go like, oh, you just can't see A to B. Like, you can't even see a first order effect in money at all. You just go, free money, you're good. Oh, no free money, it's bad. No, but there's no like, oh, I finally figured it out. These guys have their finger on a little printer button, and then they can just print unlimited amounts of this shit. And it benefits them greatly. It kind of screws me long term, and I just don't notice. So maybe I'll make a TikTok video where I come out and go, hey, tax is unfair. Go, yeah, no shit, dude. Hey, groceries are expensive now. Yeah, no shit, dude. What are you going to do about it? Well, I'm going to make a TikTok video. And then what? Well, I'm going to go back to work, and then I'm going to go back and go to Costco and buy some more shit. And then I'm going to put on the game. Oh, okay. What are you going to do after that? Well, I did it.
I'm going to stop paying my taxes and get on the list. Is that the right tax advice?
Yeah. So
I don't think so.
There's people, but it's all flavor of the month shit. Like, people are literally goldfish, dude. Like, they, like, what was it? 6 months ago, Charlie Kirk got shot, right? And you go, oh, and everyone was outraged for exactly, 6 news cycles. And then, the president got shot once. And, people were pissed off for exactly 6 news cycles. And, the COVID debasement happened, and people were upset. Not at all, really. They were just more like watching peaceful riots happen. And so it's like the idea that someone, like, we've uncovered all this fraud. Yeah, so what? Like, so did Doge back in the day. Remember all that outrage and how long that lasted? Yeah, it was 6 news cycles. And so now there's the fraud thing, and everyone's talking about fraud, and their goldfish brain will be on to the next thing in 4 more news cycles. They're just, so like, the idea that someone's going to have a persistent, sustained response to a singular issue, I think, is functionally zero. So the likelihood of someone, like a mass exodus of people having that great awakening and going like, oh, money is a scam. Like, the way they've set this up is a scam. I'm getting screwed. There's a way out of this. It's called Bitcoin. I go, that is a very piecemeal, slow, grinding kind of realization. And even among the people that hold Bitcoin, it's only like this tiny, tiny fraction that actually get the monetary system, the effects of debasement and the Cantillon effect and all that kind of stuff. Like that's 25, 30,000 people in the world, maybe 100,000 people in the world at best. The other few million that like they go, oh yeah, Bitcoin, maybe I'll get rich. Where's my next stimmy check? Like they're just fucking retards, dude. So I don't know, man.
Well, COVID realigned more of my brain about diving into what I thought money was and where it came from and what I should be doing. And I've anecdotally, I've heard a lot of stories from people where they woke up during COVID. They had a moment to stop and think. You get a stimmy check and you're going, huh. And it changed people's minds about things. And so it may just be little by little, steadily. That said, the retail market is tiny. Are these kinds of events affecting big players that might be?
No, they're immune to all this shit.
The game is the same to them, probably. I could see that.
Well, they're immune. They don't have to worry about paying the fucking electric bill. So inflation is just the cost of doing business. And they know how to capitalize on inflation. Like they go, oh, I'm on the right side of this equation. All of you morons are not on the right side of this equation. I am. So I don't care about that equation because it doesn't affect me materially. So if you're a billionaire or a multimillionaire or 100 millionaire or whatever, you're not sitting around going like, oh man, groceries are getting real expensive this week. Nah. Oh my God, I can't. Last year I paid $100 a month for electric bill and this month it's $400. Can you believe that? Like they're not thinking about any of that shit, right? So it's just the wage earning plebs that are the ones getting hammer fucked by this. And those are the same people that are so dopamine addicted and distracted that they'll never, ever, like things would have to get so freaking desperate. They'll literally be standing in bread lines and just bitching. They'll just be standing in the bread line going, man, I shouldn't be standing in bread line. When I was 20 years old, I could just go to the store and buy bread. Now I have to wait in line for it. Nah, I'm going to make a TikTok video. Man, I can't believe I'm standing in line for bread. And then what are you going to do? Oh, I'm going to keep standing in line for bread. I'm just going to bend over and take it just because that's what people do. Like, so
well, Jeff Booth has said, people discover Bitcoin or find a Bitcoin when they need it. And for a lot of people, they can tolerate a lot before they ever budge on their need or feeling like they need it. So like yesterday, I was talking to Angel with the Nigeria Women Bitcoin group. And
great group. Love them.
Yeah. And so what dawned on me again in that regard was, I mean, talk about staying humble and stacking sats. The unit bias is a different level there. Like you get paid for production in the Naira. And man, if you can, I mean, not that the Naira's had as bad of inflation as say the Zimbabwe, what is that? $500 million, $500 million in Zimbabwe. But anyway, a lot of African countries have experienced ranging from ridiculous inflation to hyperinflation. And so people you get paid, you want to spend it or move out of that system. And you recognize what bad money is, what bad governance and the economics are. So the passion that I felt there was like people here like need it. If things got to like what you mentioned, like, okay, inflation hits bad, bread lines or UBI or whatever. Yeah, a lot of people are going to be just like, well, I'll just adjust my lifestyle and complain.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of other people may start to actually feel it. Like I need something else. I'm not that dumb. Like, where's the escape hatch? People are going to think gold. And if they're tech capable or open-minded, flexible of mind at all, I would think they'd go Bitcoin more and more.
Well, I mean, like I agree. There's the idea that people come to Bitcoin when they need it sort of makes sense intuitively. And I think the weight of the evidence would argue against a mass adoption event happening anytime soon. One of the starkest examples of people's ability to tolerate grinding administrative burdens is the Jewish experience in the Warsaw Ghetto. Now, for those unfamiliar with history, the Germans moved into Poland and then they cordoned off an area and they shunted all the Jewish people into this one area. And they put little armbands on them. And this became known as the Warsaw Ghetto. And at the beginning of the occupation, there were something like 500,000 Polish Jews in the Warsaw Ghetto. By the time the people in the ghetto rose up and said, hey, maybe we should fight back, that population had been whittled down to about 10,000 people. So after watching for years, 2 or 3 years, a steady erosion of just like, oh, they just put grandma and all the kids on a train. Huh. Said they're taking them to some work farm. I don't know. Sounds nice. Huh. How come? Have you heard from grandma? Nope. Don't know where she went. Have you heard from the kids? Nope. Have you heard from dad? Nope. Huh. Well, seems like there used to be a lot of people here. Now there's less people here. And once they leave, we never hear from them again. Weird. And then it shrank a little bit more. And hey, we're starting to hear these reports of like, they're just kind of like killing people, or they're just buttoning them up and they're on these forced labor camps and they're starving them and all kinds of bad things are happening. I guess we'll just keep doing whatever the Germans tell us to do. And they kept right on doing that until they got whittled down till 90% of their population was gone. And that's when there was finally a cadre of people that went, hey, maybe we should do something about this. And then they got wrecked as soon as they rose up, right? So they caused some German losses, but they never, ever, ever did anything. Despite being literally put on trains and carted away, people just kept their heads down, kept trying to play by the rules, kept following the orders, kept doing everything until, so when you say people come to it when they need it, I go, well, they needed to revolt after everyone was gone. So what does that mean for someone who's got a relatively stable life? You go, can you still afford food? Yeah. Can you still basically kind of hang out on the weekends and watch the game? Yeah. So do you need Bitcoin? Well, I mean, like, it's getting tougher. It's getting tighter. It's getting, but like what does need look like in that situation? Because if people can take your loved ones away and you'll keep following the rules, not you, but people in general, what is it going to mean if they just take your ability to buy an extra TV this week away? Nothing. No one's going to do anything about that. They'll just sit there and just take it. That's sort of my broader point is like the idea that people are going to wake up. I go, well, people could have woke up for any day, pick a day out of the last 100 years for people to wake up, and they didn't. They just keep showing up. They keep taking the official explanation. They keep grinding and they keep going because the cost of standing out is too high, and it always is, and it will be. It doesn't matter if they're putting people on trains and having FEMA camps and all this kind of shit. People just sit there and just take it. They just that's what the big guy said, so that's what we're doing now. And
psychologically, I can see where having that kind of courage, standing up in the face of threat, it's all counter to what humans naturally want to ever have to do or confront with, or you're looking for, like, is there any other more passive solution, at least temporarily? Yes, there always is. So I can continue to kind of do less, make less effort, not have the courage, just get along. And the difference now maybe being, okay, we have the internet. In America, we're armed, like arms are widely distributed and people have them, whether or not they know what to do with them or know why they have them or when they would ever use them. There are arms out there. That Nick Shirley guy has been out there, man on the street with the Minnesota thing. And so more and more people are seeing it. It could be that psychologically people are like, have ways to be at their wit's end. Now, what you actually do, it may not be anything to do with what's going on, or you're not going to tap the fraud up on high, but it may be that psychologically people are feeling done and it takes less for them to say, I'm out. Like, I don't want to fund a criminal system.
Like I said, they could have woken up anytime over the last 100 years and had that exact realization.
Yeah.
Henry Ford spelled it out in 1920. Said if people understood banking in this country, they'd rise up and revolt tomorrow. You go, no, they wouldn't, because there's no shortage of information now. Anybody with thumbs can go discover all of this information, and they don't, because they don't care about it. Would you block this fucking retard?
It's all these different bot accounts. They're not showing on screen, but we're getting kick bots. Oh my goodness. Maybe I drop kick. This is unique though. Extra bots today. Happy New Year's from the bots.
Yeah. Well, but you get what I'm saying though, right? Like,
yeah.
The idea that there is going to be some great awakening, I think, is functionally zero. Like, because right now, the way the system is set up, it is designed specifically to distract, right? Because distraction is comfortable for everybody involved. Like, you can get just angry enough to feel like you're pissed off about something, and then you can just move on to the next thing. And so it's an outrage economy where people will just point out things that are outrageous, and people get outraged by them, and then they evoke hollow gestures, and then they go back to doing whatever they were doing before until the next thing comes along to outrage them. But that's a means of extracting resources from a population. And it's now a very embedded, deeply entrenched mechanism in society, thanks to the internet and these internet companies. So all that's done is just taken attention and turned it into a revenue stream, but it doesn't do anything. Attention does not equate action. Attention, and especially diffuse, dispersed, decentralized, unfocused attention grabbing is the perfect recipe for an administrative state to control a population, because you always hammer them with so much information that they can't do anything about anything. So they become paralyzed. And that paralysis is part and parcel of the system, right? So it helps entrench elite interests, while people like us can sit here and talk about whether or not, will Bitcoin be the thing that people wake up to and, we suddenly have this glorious revolution? I go, What you can hope for is incremental progress, I think, is a reasonable assumption. There is a possibility that elites make like a very extreme miscalculation that results in sort of mass chaos. But even in those countries that are destabilized, like that destabilization, the Arab uprising and all that kind of shit, that lasted a couple months and then it's over. So the idea that we're going to have some sustained campaign of like a taxpayer revolt or something like that, I think is functionally zero, because there's just no way to coordinate these people that have a goldfish attention span. So what we can do is just keep grinding and just keep, trying to convince people. And those of us who get Bitcoin, and if we can manage to keep it decentralized and secure, then we get the benefits of having a very rare, valuable commodity. But for everyone else, you go, well, you get it when you get it, I guess. And most of you probably won't ever.
That is very possible. And speaking of how long this has been going on, I mean, even, I don't know, was it 100 years ago? Friedrich Nietzsche said, everything the state says is a lie. Everything the state has, it has stolen. Let me throw up a graph of public trust in government. To say it's near historic lows, I mean, it may have dropped since what this graph is. This goes through somewhere past 2020 something. It doesn't go into Trump here, version 2, but there was a kind of a rally after 9/11, but so Vietnam, you can see, certainly plummeted through and after Vietnam, came up in Reagan, back down during when our president was straight out of the CIA and waging covert ops all over South America and Central America and the arms deals. Clinton came back under Clinton and the whatever hope and change of that era, back down under Bush. Obama, interestingly, kind of remained flat. And anyway, public trust in government remains very, very low. I mean, we're probably 15 to 20%.
Well, there's another way you can look at that chart, because you can tie it to events and you can also tie it to information availability, right? So, like, you go, what happened with Obama? Why is that such a flat line? Well, when did the internet become really fully fleshed out with
That's
social
true.
media? You go, okay, so what happened during that administration? Like, the narrative shifted dramatically and became very, very, very polarized. Right there. That was the moment in time. But that was the moment in time when these big tech companies figured out that they can monetize outrage and attention. So it's from there forward. Like, you're never going to see a return in public trust in government, because it's very profitable to make sure that is always bifurcated, and it's always split, and it's always along red blue team lines. So it's now a money making apparatus. So the trust in government is gone forever. Like, it's never coming back, because it can't, because the attention economy has made it impossible for that to come back. So whether or not, but what I would say is very, very, very telling is, like, you look at that little dip right around like 20, what would that be, 15 or whatever, who knows what scandal or something happened there. There was like a big dip in Obama's rating, individual rating, right? But then it kind of ironed out. And you look at, like, right in 2020, it went up during a time when there was like, but the variance in those things is effectively zero. I mean, that's a flat line from a statistical standpoint. If you look at the chart previous and then you compare it to what's happened since 2010, you go, oh, it's just flatlined at low. because the narratives have now shifted towards, we have a very strong equilibrium of, no matter what you say, I disagree. And that's all it boils down. It doesn't matter what that side is saying now. Like, Trump says, hey, crime, fraud, blah, blah, blah. And the other side goes, lies. And then Biden comes along and goes, crime, fraud, blah, 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 racism. And the other side goes, lies. And that's the entirety of the dialogue now. What you say is a lie. What I say is truth. And so you end up with this like little, like, who trusts anybody? No one, because that's the point. that's what your attention, that's what the value in your attention is to pick a side, stay on it, and you'll go down with that ship because all your friends are doing it too. So
yeah, and what's interesting too, to see this increase here in maybe 2019 to 20, very briefly, where it actually went up from whatever that was, 15-18% up to 22-25%. What was that driven by? Fear.
Yeah.
Fear. And we're, it's a big, scary, sick world out there, and we have Operation Lightspeed going, and so do all the things. And so people are like, okay, we're being told what to do. So it tells you kind of what cross section of maybe people this is. If you're looking at 20%, it could be like, if the government said to jump off that cliff because they got parachutes waiting at the bottom, would you jump? And there's 15-20% of people would be like, I don't see why not.
Yeah, they told me to.
They said so.
Yeah.
Or actually, people will simply respect leadership, notwithstanding any kind of quality about the leadership, but they would prefer leadership versus just no leadership. So, oh, there's a terror attack. Oh, there's an emergency here. Oh, there's an emergency there. Be scared, people. And so under that frame of thought, fear, mind control, any kind of leadership that simply says, we have a path we're working through, so do the things, people will glom onto that like, well,
good.
Daddy is looking out for the kids. So
Dad's here. Thank God. Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway.
I mean, that's, like, I love talking about Bitcoin. I love Bitcoin and the Bitcoin experiment in terms of an asset and a commodity. In terms of like fixing the financial shenanigans of the last 12,000 years, I go, if they had figured out a way to fix this stuff, someone probably would have come up with it by now. So what I think we're looking at potentially, because I'm working on the book, right? And like, I've been sort of mired in chapters 7 and 8 right now, because it's all about the post-Roman European experience, and this is sort of from my perspective, like the birthplace of the modern political economy, you know, states and markets and cross-border payments and all that kind of stuff. That all arose in Euro-Christian Europe post-Roman collapse, right? So with that collapse, what you ended up with was a lack of an administrative state. That, you know, that void was filled by the church ultimately, right? Because they maintained an administrative apparatus, but they also inadvertently created like all these cross-border financial arrangements, and so is that fusion of like northern tribal alliances with Christian theology and Christian administrative habits, that you end up with this kind of market-based coined money, like the remnants of empire being fused with Christian morality and European tribal, you know, vengeance-based societies, right? So you end up with a competitive nation-state system, which is what has survived and has proven to be a very enduring, like, political, economic way of organizing people. But it's all written in the same language that goes all the way back to Sumeria and ancient tablets, and, you know, recording who owes what and then abstracting that out. So when you look at like, what can we do to fix this system now? You go, well, that's like a sticky wicket, right? Because you're talking about people that are so accustomed to all of this stuff that it's all just normalized. Like, we use money, that's normal. We have markets that charge more than it costs to make the thing because that's normal. And we pay tax because that's normal. And we are subject to the whims of the state because that's normal. And everybody on planet Earth is normalized to these very fictitious norms. And there is no mechanism to unwind that, because the alternative is you go, well, decentralize storage, decentralize resources, decentralize everything, and go back to a system that functionally can exist in fixed settlements with fixed infrastructure. Like, you just don't get those benefits. And there's no other, you know, the path dependencies have led us all to this place. So when we start talking about like, how do we fix all these path dependencies that have for the last 12,000 years led us to where we are right now, you go, I've got it. All we have to do is fix this one thing and then it's all fixed. You go, that would be disregarding 12,000 years of nested functions and path dependencies and a ratcheting sort of trap that we've all inadvertently created for ourselves. So I don't know, man. It's
I don't see a governmental or a political solution, or even really a systemic economic solution, short of technology gives people an escape hatch now to simply at least participate less, at best detach, and have a circular economy with like-minded people. And it is an escape hatch. But when people, so let me juxtapose this with the book, your book, The Great Realignment, where Bitcoin changes things and the system. Can the Great Realignment change the depth of the problem as you see it now?
I still think so, potentially, depending on what happens with the trajectory of Bitcoin, right? If it continues on the path that it's on right now, with a fractured social layer, a completely captured monetary layer, and a completely captured mining layer, and then a grotesque apathy towards the network layer, I go, like, it looks kind of iffy to me, right? If the network layer can remain preserved and decentralized, decentralization, what I can say with a high degree of confidence right now, after having written as much of my new book as I have, decentralization is a key component to tempering power and tempering authority. And right now, what is happening with Bitcoin is all the forces are aligning towards centralization of that asset, because that is the natural impulse of the state and of elites, is to centralize control, not allow decentralized things to flourish. So if we can maintain the decentralization aspect, that's a key indicator, right? But right now, I don't see any effort whatsoever by anybody to maintain that decentralization at all. Like people go, "Oh, I'm running knots. I'm this. I'm that." I go, "But that's not like you need 100x of the nodes to make sure this is truly decentralized." And I don't see anybody pushing for that angle. We need, things like Stratum v2 and Ocean's template, and like the decentralization of mining templates, I think is a positive step and could lead to some significant decentralization of template construction, which also helps decentralize mining, despite the fact that the pools and the hardware will still be deeply centralized. The effect of having more profitable, financially incentivized templates that help decentralize that aspect of Bitcoin, I think, is a positive step.
Right.
That said, if we allow node centralization to continue being a thing, and especially geographically speaking, like absent a real serious push of real serious Bitcoiners coming along and ensuring that the network layer remains decentralized, I think, the inevitable condensation of that network will eventually result in a centralized network layer. And at that point, it's just another thing that Wall Street bros are fucking around with. It's not, there's no like all the benefits of like a potential great realignment of having a decentralized commodity that is able to absorb inflation and inflationary pressures without destabilizing the entire system. I think a lot of those become less and less viable as paths forward and become more and more just like another thing where people just end up on a UBI and we kind of all stand in bread lines forever because we're now all legible down to our DNA, basically. So I don't know.
Yeah, just glancing at stats here. Bitcoin network, reachable nodes, not quite 25,000. 64+% of them behind Tor. I mean, it should be 10x this, if not 100x this.
10x would be great. I would love to see 10x. 100x would be outstanding. Like if that dashboard showed like a 10x of reachable nodes, and then you assume that like 64% above that are not reachable because they're behind a Tor network. Then you go, okay, so now we're talking 500,000 nodes or 600,000 nodes or something like that. Then if you ask me, hey, what do you think about the great realignment happening? I go, it's almost a guarantee. At 24,000 nodes, I go, it's kind of anybody's guess. Like it's going to really depend a lot on whether or not Bitcoiners actually take this asset seriously. And it's going to require more than 24,000 people to do that. It's going to require more than 100,000 people to do that. It's going to require millions. In order for something to truly be decentralized, it has to be decentralized. And 24,000 is a good start, but it's not decentralized in any meaningful sense, especially when 60, 70% are in the United States and Western Europe, right? So it's iffy, man. It's iffy.
Yeah, the hash rate is still over a zeta hash. So it's like hash rate continues to climb. It's slowed just a little bit recently, but again, that's very centralized. So you could contribute. So with Stratum v2, you could contribute to a pool and at least have your individualized template, and that can help with,
Yeah, and Ocean's doing, like Ocean's actually now up to like 2 or 3% of global hash. So they're making inroads. I mean, these are all very, very positive things. And the nice thing about Stratum v2 and Ocean is that they're starting to demonstrate financial benefits for your own template construction rather than just resorting to a default template construction based on the mining pool. So if there's a financial incentive, then that increases the likelihood of that becoming a decentralizing force. What we need to figure out how to do is to incentivize node running, right? Because right now it's all about altruism. You go, why do I run a node? because it helps the network. And that's all there is to it, right? Like people, I can validate my own transactions, except 0% of Bitcoiners do that. Like they're all using Lightning, they're all using exchanges, they're all using centralized services, they're all relying on stuff other than their own node. Like to say, oh, well, there's, let's say there's 100,000 nodes per Dasher's, whatever, I don't know how to say his fucking name, his estimate.
Dasher. I always say Dasher, but I think people don't know. Is he a junior or is that actually his last name?
That's
Dasher?
his last name, because I thought it was Junior as well, but it's
Okay.
apparently some Slavic name or something. I don't know.
Okay.
But if you go by his estimate, which I think is a fair estimate of about 100,000 nodes total, and you assume that 65% of those are geographically centralized in North America and Europe, then what you're talking about is 100,000 people, entities, period, that are interested enough in Bitcoin to make sure the network is decentralized. So that's not a sufficient number to withstand a coordinated attack or even a an attempt to co-opt that network layer by state authorities, right? Like there's an insufficient barrier right now. So if we can get that to 1 million, then the likelihood of that network being co-opted at the network layer is functionally zero, but there's just no one doing it, right? So absent coordinated action and absent some sort of incentive for people to run nodes, which I don't know how you can incentivize people to do that, then we just kind of end up with a gradually shrinking node running base as node operators, and especially with the social layer being fractured now between knots and core and all this kind of shit. Like it's all very conducive to state capture and control, or elite capture and control. And just the very fact that the social fabric is so ruptured, I think, is very conducive to elite capture and control. I mean, close enough that I go, this appears very deliberate to me on the outside. I go, this looks like a deliberate attempt to fracture the social layer, and whether
go ahead. Sorry.
No, whether it's coordinated or conspiracy or it's just an appearance, I don't know. But
that's what I've been trying to get my mind around a bit. Is that we'll talk about it a lot. I'll hear like the Bitcoin army. I'm gonna kick here. This is like
driving me. Fuck this guy. Hey Naz, fuck you. Go fuck yourself, you fucking piece of shit.
Kick. Goodbye, kick.
And just block this fucking shit stain, dude. Like,
well, you, whoops. I think I dropped him. So our podcast, the Bitcoin Army podcast, variously small podcasts, I will see the message about, hey, run a node, take self-custody. It's usually the smaller podcast. I don't even want to say small, but like, Robin Sayer, Paula, and others, they're growing. Maybe you call them not the 100,000 followers, but in the tens of thousands of followers. And they're saying, run a node, take self-custody. And you hear that.
Yeah.
What I don't hear it from is that when they'll have big names on podcasts on, like whether it's What Is Money or What Bitcoin Did or some of the big ones, I don't hear big name influencer folks focusing on that. They'll talk about all kinds of financial things and the wizardry or even quantum, even as they're explaining or getting your mind healthily around what that means, quantum. I don't hear run a node, take self-custody.
Right.
And I would sort of think some of the most highly invested folks, like a Sailor or big players, I would think they would say, hey, we want Bitcoin protected at the network layer. I would want them to be saying again and again and again, hey, people out there, yes, get off zero, get orange pilled, buy my
strategy stock or whatever. Yeah.
Do all the flavors of things, if you will. I don't hear them saying run a node.
Right. Yeah.
Which is like I always wonder, like, why don't they say that? Wouldn't that be important? I don't know.
I don't either. It really sort of boggles my mind. There's a reason why I'm so adamant about it. And like every podcast I get on and people say, would you like to add anything? I go, please, for the love of God, run a node. Like it's the most important thing you can do for Bitcoin. If you believe in Bitcoin, if you believe in the Bitcoin experiment, run a node. I love Start9 for making it super easy. I love FutureBit for tying mining into it. I love those two companies, and I will sing their praises forever. You know, like Parmanode, he'll set you up. He's kind of a knots guy, but you know, whatever. Just run a node. I don't care if knots or core. Just get a node on the network, and at least have a say in what software gets deployed as Bitcoin, right? But to your point, yeah, like why isn't Jack Mallers every day telling people, hey, here's all my Jack Mallers wisdom and love and, you know, interesting things. By the way, run a node. And why isn't Michael Saylor going, hey, here's all the great, amazing things we're doing with Bitcoin in my company. By the way, run a node. And why isn't Samson Now saying run a node? And why isn't Walker saying run a node? And why isn't, you know, any number of these big, you know, accounts, whether they're 10,000, 50,000, 100,000, 200,000, why isn't Breedlove every day talking about run a node?
Run a node, people. Yeah.
So that is the key question. And, you know, that's one of the things where I kind of step back and I look and I kind of understand as I'm learning more and more about like the influencer circuit and how influencers, quote unquote, whether it doesn't matter if it's Bitcoin or golf or fucking tennis or whatever, there's a very self-similar sort of strategy around like get an audience and then monetize your audience. And that's sort of what it's all about. Right. And things that I think for someone, especially if you're a person who goes, hey, I've now got 500,000 followers on Twitter and I've been talking about, you know, whatever, like end the Fed or something like that, but just as an example, or you're talking about like how to improve your golf game or how to fix your backswing in your tennis stroke or whatever it is, however you got to that level of influence, quote unquote, your job is then changes from I need to just give information to I need to make sure my information is curated in such a manner that I don't alienate my audience and I can continue to monetize them. So that's a different calculus, right? And I just don't think there's any incentive for people to, you know, promote node running. Oddly enough, like
it's just not enough number go up or something. Yeah.
Right. Well, I mean, their entire, like a lot of these influencers, their entire personality and their entire shtick is around Bitcoin. And you would think like, hey man, if you have managed to enrich yourself in such a fashion where based on the back of Bitcoin and on the back of a Bitcoin narrative, don't you think it would behoove you to make sure that you can sustain that realistically, not just in a narrative sense of like number go up and just buy Bitcoin and hold it and you'll be rich and shit like that. But like going, hey, this is a bigger deal than even I might give it credit for, but we need to protect it. So please run a node, right? Like it seems like that would be something that should matter to all people in Bitcoin, but for some reason it just doesn't. I've been talking about it for the last year since I started MicroSeed. I go, this is going to be my foundational message. Like, buy a MicroSeed or don't, but run a node, please. And
yeah,
and I just, you know, I love, like you said, Bitcoin Army. They hopped on that. I love that. I feel like I've had some impact on like, hey, convincing some of the people on their podcast, like, hey, you should talk about this more often, please. You know, and I think people get it once they hear it. It's just I just don't know how to get that message out there in a greater fashion. You know?
Yeah. Thinking of Mallers, you know, he's got his weekly podcast on Mondays, and I'll often tune in because I like his energy and I'm kind of curious where they're going. And I like that he's overtly, he's not really to number go up. Like he's good about saying, hey, when it's low, you can stack more. It's not about the fiat price. Fiat is yada, yada, yada. Thank you, Robin. Yes, run a node. Robin's here.
Hey, Robin.
So speaking of good influencers who talk about the good based incentives about Bitcoin and the ethics behind it is running a node and taking self-custody. I'll hear Mallers speak down about don't get stuck in the fiat monkey brain of number go up, number go up. You want number go up. I have heard him say that I hear him say repeatedly, take self-custody. using strike, we encourage self-custody. That's cool. He also will say, don't get caught up in the fiat brain-minded number go up thing. Get your cheap sats, stack, and stay humble. Stay humble, stack sats. I may have heard him once talk about running a node. I can't remember, but he doesn't focus on the node thing. Interestingly, getting to the work you're doing on your book, on Monday this week, he did a bit of a treatise on what is money.
Oh, I saw that. Yeah.
What is money? He goes right into that people made it to solve the coincidence of wants and the liquidity behind barter. And then that's how that's kind of where he starts with it. I was also just recently, I've been reading the big print here.
Larry's book. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, my bookmark is what page am I on? Okay. My bookmark is my TSA slip that I got when I traveled with a MicroSeed, and I had it on the way back. I had it in my luggage, and when I opened my luggage, I had a little TSA hello. Hey, we just checked your stuff here. That's my bookmark now. But even Larry Lepard in his book, he's not going deep dive into the what is money thing as much as what's happening now with the Federal Reserve now.
Right.
But he touches on it in one of his early chapters. About a lot of it was as far as what money is, it's the medium of exchange thing that people made it to solve the coincidence of wants. And he refers to Lynn Alden and Broken Money, and that we need a medium of exchange. And so it sort of solved the barter hiccups. But again, with your book, I think when it comes out, guys like Larry, Lynn Alden, hopefully guys like Jack Mallers, and anyone thinking about what is money, Breedlove, whoever, this explains what is money from a much more fundamental, not just since banks were kind of around or since people needed coinage.
Right.
Where did the coinage come from?
Right.
Why was it coined and traveled? Anyway, it's so much deeper than all that too. It gets you really thinking about a big system that goes way back to just the beginnings of agriculture.
Yeah. Well, beginnings of fixed settlements, really.
Settlement, yeah. Well, even pre-agriculture, yeah.
Yeah. Well, and that's one of the neat things about doing this deep dive into the origins of money, because it's proven illuminating to me, but it also, I find it more and more frustrating. Like when I hear, like I heard Mahler's thing, and they come from this commodity view of money, and I go, it's just not it, like and so I hear people tout nested functions as origins, right? Like the Tuttle twins just had this great thing. It's a fun little animation, and they're talking about the origins of money, and they talk about shells and wampum and this and that. I'm just like, God, man. And just to be in a position of like realizing like everyone's got it wrong, like they're not, and it's not wrong. Like what they're saying is correct for that nested function, but it doesn't encapsulate where it came from or why. And when you sort of lay it out in a path where you just go, I don't see any other way that this makes sense. But what I've erected so far, I go, this tracks for me. Like, and you've read the first 6 chapters, so you kind of go, well, does it track logically and historically based on available evidence? I go, yeah, 100%. Like it's unmistakable if you lay it out that way and you look at it that way. But what it means for the future and what it means for Bitcoin, I think, is very different than what the commodity people might have you believe, right? Like Bitcoin is sound money. I go, that's functionally, from a historical standpoint, that's a oxymoron, right? Bitcoin can't be money in any meaningful sense if you accept the origin of money as what it is, which is a means for the state to abstract obligation and make it portable and durable, right? If that's true, then Bitcoin can only be a commodity. It can only be an asset. It can never be state issued money. And you certainly would never want to pay your taxes in it, because then all the Bitcoin would end up in the hands of the state eventually, right? Like, just like if the sovereign taxed your land and go, well, you just need to give us 1 square foot of land every year. Sooner or later, they have all your land. And that's the same exact thing with Bitcoin. They go, hey, well, you need to pay 0.0001 Bitcoin every year in taxes. You go, well, how long is it until you get all the Bitcoin? Oh, I mean, that's a math problem at that point, right?
It's an inevitability.
Right. So you never, ever, ever want to pay your taxes in Bitcoin, but paying taxes is a key feature of a monetary system. Like if you can't pay your taxes in it, if it's not demanded by the state and it's not enforced by the state, then, but this is all getting into chartalism. And then the commodity people say, it's not true because of most saleable goods and blah, 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 blah. But but they can fuss with the idea, but they can't fuss with the history. Right. So it'll be interesting to see. I don't know how Bitcoiners are actually going to take my book or whether they'll read it at all. I mean, who knows if anybody will ever read my book.
So, I think it has a huge potential. I think if they just read chapter 1, they have to say, oh, this is different. Tell me more. I would think the Larry Lepards, Lynn Aldens, and others, I would say Fadine. I mean, I think these people would say, oh, this is refreshing. Like, I don't disagree. Or if nothing else, I'm curious about where this is going because this is new and different. Yeah. And also what you're doing is reframing the word money. When people think money, they often think that like Bitcoin is money. Well, right. Their idea of what money is also an old fiat frame. And so Bitcoin can be a function like money, and yet it is so much more that it underestimates Bitcoin to say Bitcoin's money. I hear Mallers again and again saying Bitcoin is money. It's money. It's the best form of money. Other people, Dorsey and maybe Booth, they're like, it needs to be a medium of exchange. It needs to be a medium of exchange. I would like it to remain functional as a medium of exchange, yes, but that's like a part of what it can do. It can do more than what. To call it money is less than what Bitcoin is
by a country mile. Yeah, and that's one of the things about it is like money becomes a limiting language that doesn't apply to the Bitcoin asset, right? Like it just doesn't encapsulate or capture what money is. Like if you take as true the stepwise functions of a state where they go, hey, we have infrastructure, we need to maintain infrastructure. Or we have a field, we need to make sure the field gets tended. And we need to make sure that's fair, right? So in order to do that, you have to do certain managerial things to make sure that can happen, right? If we're just talking about a farm.
You're making a ledger.
Right. You're going to have something where we go, how many people are available to work? What work needs to be done? And what do people get for doing that work? So all of those things make sense. Just in any small scale operation, you kind of go, well, we have things that need to get done. And then once that grows a little bit, you go, okay, now not only do we have a farm, but we have 20 farms, and we have irrigation canals, and we have terraces that are all carved out, and we have buildings and tools, and all that shit needs to be maintained. All that shit needs to happen, and it has to happen in a certain schedule, or else we're all going to starve. So that's no good. So we need to make sure that we can keep track of all of this stuff, right?
There's a season and we store it through the winter and we have extra left over and who gets how much. Oh, you're still hungry. How much did you contribute? All the things.
Right. Exactly. So if you look at that and you go, well, all of those are solutions, you go, well, we just need to keep track of who's on the farm. We need to keep track of what work needs to be done. We need to keep track of who has worked and who hasn't worked. Like all those things just make sense because they're logical. They're the foundation of any group effort. You go, we have to keep track of things on some level, especially if you're tied to a site, right? Like if you go, well, this is where food comes from. Like if we leave here, we don't have food. That's a problem. So once that becomes a managerial thing, then the next step is like, well, now I'm in charge of this because I'm the person who knows the calendar. I'm the person. And so each one of these steps becomes an increment. But by the time you get to the other side of a thing where you go, you owe X number of days based on last year's production and you didn't provide enough. So now you have to pay more wheat because you didn't give enough days last year. By the time you get to that point, you've already forgotten about all the reasons why we're doing this to begin with. You just are now a number on a chart that says, hey, you owe X, Y, Z. And by the time that gets extrapolated out to like you owe X amount of shells because you didn't do X amount of days 3 years ago, and that's how you pay for the stuff that you get here. You know, like all these abstractions keep carrying on, and they make sense in the moment, and then 500 years later, that's just the way you're doing things. Like the reasons are gone. Just like today, when we have these little pieces of paper floating around, the reasons why we have the paper at all, the reason why we have the ledger at all, the reason why we have any accountability, any sense of like tying people to these numbers is gone. It's lost to history. It's just the way we do things now. And so now people want to come and go, well, let's fix the way we're doing things now, completely disregarding all the reasons that came before it. And I think that's where these solutions start to fall apart, you know?
Yeah. And it's like, you could walk away anytime you want, but you can't ever really leave. It'd be like, you know, the state needs its workers, sure. And they're going to have various incentives, good and bad, to continue, you know, continue people being engaged with that. And somebody's like, I don't like the system at all, I'm going to leave. Okay.
Good luck.
What does that mean?
Right.
What is that nomadic life? And over time, that's winnowed down into being homeless. Or
yeah, you can be homeless.
I mean, yeah. So,
and if the MMT and the chartalists, like especially the modern monetary theory people have their way, they'll make it so you can't even be homeless anymore. Like that's their ultimate sort of thing that I don't think they realize. They go, oh, we need to have like the you know, the guaranteed job, and we just, you know, we need to make everything a ledger and everything is on the ledger. I go, that literally puts people in a place where they can't even be unemployed. And if you think about that, that's is about as nefarious as you can possibly get, because you're not even allowed to be lazy anymore. You see, you have to show up at the state thing to get your state allowance so you can get your state. So it becomes a form of corvée again. It's, you know, you owe labor, right? And in order for you to exist, you must pay in labor. One of the cute things about capitalism is they just shift who you owe from the state directly to proxies of the state, which are the large corporations and the people that produce things, right? So, but you still have to pay to exist. You still have to give someone something to exist at all, unless you live completely outside the system. And those are right now the people who live in tents, you know, like that are out sleeping on the street. Like those are that's the last bastion of freedom in this country right now, or in the world, really. Can you remain illegible? And that is it's increasingly a desperate place to be, and an increasingly difficult place to be. And even those people that are illegible right now, being homeless and whatnot, if the MMT people get their way and we get a UPI or UBI and all that kind of stuff, those people are going to become legible too. And they won't even be allowed to be lazy. They'll have to go and show up and do something to get their thing. They won't even be able to beg for it because it's all on a digital ledger. And you go, did you do what the state demanded of you? No, then you don't get to eat this week, you know? So it's a pretty dark place we could end up in if we're not careful. So all that to say, run a node.
Yeah. On a brighter note, the door is open. Get off zero. You're not late. We're all early. Take self-custody and run a node. I'm going to play a fun thing real quick. Here we go. As a Bitcoiner, you know that taking self-custody is critically important. MicroSeed is the best way to take self-custody. Secure the most important property in the world that you own on titanium. So check this out. You put your washer in here, you set the table, you grab your punches, and you tap, click, tap, click, tap. Stamp whatever you want, however you want it. It's tiny but clean and aligned. So get off paper and get yourself a MicroSeed at microseed.io.
Love it.
Inspirational.
Yeah, get a MicroSeed and run.
And I've talked to people. So on my other regular daily podcast playlist of the Bitcoiners United, I had various guests on there. A lot of people, they definitely, well, they see it right here, but they're like, oh, I know MicroSeed, and they love MicroSeed. And I tell people, I don't care what you do to take self-custody, but get it off your pieces of paper,
right,
and put it on steel, secure that sucker, do what you got to do to make sure you don't lose what is important. And people will start maybe with scratching it on a little plate, or getting some washers of your own and getting some punches that you will, and try to hammer what you can as you will.
Yeah.
But if you want to do it nice and elegant and clean and quick and make as many as you want
MicroSeed.
consistently,
Yeah.
MicroSeed's the best one. So
yeah, by a mile. Yeah. Well, I mean, I feel like the deeper I get in the book, the less like sort of, I don't know. It's just put me in a very different frame of mind. Obviously, I'm still bullish on Bitcoin. I'm still
you're
bullish,
peering into the void, and so
but I am daily peering into the void, and I'm just like, man, this is a deep, complex issue that we're all sort of mired in, and there is a chapter in my book called The Agricultural Trap, and the trap sprang shut on us 5,000 years ago. We're in the trap. So, when you talk about like, how do you fix it? You go, I don't know. I think the best you can hope for is to try and make the trap comfortable, right? But we'll see.
Well, get yourself some Bitcoin. That may
get you some Bitcoin. It's a good start. It is certainly better than just letting yourself become diluted and legible to the state. So,
and what I'm imagining, and we're at an hour and 15 now, but to maybe we wrap this up. But what I'm imagining now, getting into theoretically chapters 8, maybe, or 9, you're approaching like central banking or large banks, or what that
modernity,
is like.
Yeah. Well, I still have.
What is the bank?
I had to break chapter 7 up into 2, so that was it was getting way too long. And so the first part is kind of a short chapter 7, and then a little longer chapter 8, and then that is basically done right now. I'll send them both to you as soon as I sort of button up the rest of chapter 8. And then chapter 9 gets into the colonial reach of the European export of this sort of coin money idea and state authority and stuff like that. And then the next chapter after that brings us right into modernity and where we are now and how we ended up here and what it looks like and why and all that kind of stuff. So it'll probably encapsulate things like the Federal Reserve and where that came from, and wildcat banking and the banking history of the United States and where all this comes from. And it's already sort of well-trod territory for me from some of my other research, but and then I think there'll probably be a pretty big nod to Bitcoin in there, and just say, hey, here's a reason why this is unique and interesting in this broad, long landscape of monetary development. This is why this one particular thing stands out as a sort of unique, novel thing. And if these sort of miraculous, very unlikely things come to pass, like a lot of people read the book and a lot of people embrace the book and a lot of people talk about the book, and then they can get to this place at the end, I feel like there could be at least a potential place for people to look at Bitcoin in a new light and go, oh, okay, I see why this is important now. It's not just number go up. It's not just magic internet money. It's not just sound money. It's a very, very, very different asset in the history of a trap that we've inadvertently set up for ourselves over the last 12,000 years. So we'll see what happens. God willing.
Yeah. I think Marty Bent coined the phrase, fix the money, fix the world. Larry Lepard, his mantra is fix the money, fix the world. That, even just that phrase, I totally get it. I do hope so. Fix the money, a lot of things get fixed. And even beyond all that, we're still talking about a system where money means something that is different than what
most people think it means. Yeah.
What people think it means. So I think a concluding chapter, or people are, in your book, Enter Bitcoin, a highly read chapter will be one where people are like, Daniel, what's the solution? Give us hope.
Right.
How we escape all of human history.
Yeah. What is the escape hatch for human history? And you go, well, Bitcoin is, oddly enough, that thing that has that enduring potential more than anything that's ever come before Bitcoin, I think, is that a potential way to mitigate some of the more pernicious aspects of the trap that we've set for ourselves. with the modern monetary system and the modern market system and all that kind of stuff. I think Bitcoin is one potential little place, the little ray of light that could kind of crack through. And it's not in the way that I think most people envision it, but I also think it is plausible. It's possible, but we have to make sure it stays decentralized and secure first to give it time to work is kind of my thesis there. So,
well, I'm really looking forward to when you get those chapters to me. I will do what I do, and I've been loving it, and can't wait to
thank you
continue on the journey. And then I can't wait for the book to be done. But
yeah, me neither.
Rush. It's been high quality, so it's like you don't want to rush quality. At the same time, I'm just like, ooh, when next chapter?
Yeah. Well, I can give you the short chapter 7 as soon as we get off this show, but yeah, and then chapter 8 I can probably follow up later tonight or tomorrow. So yeah,
awesome.
But, all right, man, great show today. Thank you so much as always.
Another good week, a new year in Bitcoin. Happy birthday, Bitcoin!
Happy birthday! We'll see you in El Salvador. Come down and watch me shank my come down and watch me crush my opening tee shot. Boom!
Yeah, hitting those pars.
I'm gonna be smashing it.
Cool. We will next see you then. Bye, everybody.